All right, here we are, another week around the trash fire. Your host, Matthias, along with the boy.
John.
Well, John, it's a very low Warhammer news week, which is not surprising given how Adepticon was last week and all the big juicy news that dropped.
Yeah, there's a lot of tidbits here and there for the new edition, but nothing crazy. I mean, the new model is a lieutenant, you know. Although they've been really pushing the changes, which is good. I think it's important to highlight that when you're launching a new edition.
Well, when you're going back to, well, not square zero, no, square one. When you're doing the hard reset, it's good to let everyone know what's different.
Yeah, totally get it.
We got to know how to metagame it and break the system, like always.
I mean, that's what the community is for, right? The developers actually don't have time to do it.
I did. So we have the playtesters. Oh
Yeah,
wait,
I mean, I actually did the math. It's something like, if you have 20 factions times 20, that's 400 games minimum. And, if you want a good handle of a faction, you should play, like, I'd say 5 games. So you're looking at 2,000 games played minimum if you want the balance 40K.
which
Yeah,
good
I
luck.
don't think companies have the resources. Even Games Workshop has the resources to pay someone to play 2,000 games or play, in a work week. How long's the game? Like 3 hours? Well,
3 hours
3 hours. So it's like two
if you're
games a
doing
day.
2,000. Yes.
So 2 games a day. So 8-hour workday. You're looking at 1,000 days to do that, and that's with one faction per versus a faction. Not even changing your army build. So small tangent here at the start, but hey, I was talking with some buddies, and we kind of realized is that yeah, it's actually not easy to play test this kind of game.
I don't think it ever easy to playtest Warhammer 40K with just
Yeah,
how many different factions there are.
exactly, and they're not gonna stop.
Well, not if they keep adding new factions, which rumors on the way of a new faction, possibly. So we'll have to wait and see. But let's get into the Sunday preview, shall we? Starting off, hit the right button here. We're getting the AOS books, Soul Blight and the Osarak Bone Reapers. Pretty much everything they showed off in the Adepticon. So we're getting the book. We're getting the Mortison model. We're also getting the Vanguard box, which I didn't they release this box, or am I thinking of something different?
I'm saying different. This is new.
Okay.
It's a pretty good box. It's well, I mean, with a faction that has one troop choice and one cavalry choice and one monster, you kind of can't go wrong because this is all they have. HQ choice. Well, in the new book, I'm not sure how he's gonna work, but it's a cool model, the Scythe guy. I hope he's more combat oriented this time, not just another support mage in the sea of support mages for this faction. They have like 6 support mages or something with the new guy. So, anyways, yeah, it's. I think it's a good
Okay.
Vanguard. I was to say Combat Patrol, no Vanguard box.
Well, I'll have to take your word on that. I wanted to start the Bone Reapers, but then I put the restraints on myself and said no, no more armies. Yep, there they are. We got that. I'm getting the cards. The Soul Blight, getting their book, getting their special character, Ivra Volgar. We went over her last week. The White King on Skeleton Steed. Is this model not out on its own?
Not on its own.
Huh. Weird. Thought it was.
No, it was in the start collecting, I believe.
Got it. But we got that coming out on its own, and then the Vanguard, bunch of skeletons, some Blood Knights, and Vargeist. Is that right? No. What are the bad creatures called again?
Yeah, Vargeist, you're right.
Vargeist. Okay. And then obviously that one character, the Vampire Lord, the little bats in the hair.
Mm-hmm.
I assume a good set. I mean, the models are obviously top notch there.
Yeah, it's back to the what I was saying earlier that it's a limited faction. I mean, it's either skeletons or zombies, and both are good choices for the faction. And Blood Knights are their only. Well, I guess Black Knights too, but Black Knights are old models, and Blood Knights last edition when I played them for a little bit were quite good. Vargeist are also solid monsters infantry, and the Vampire Lord is a Vampire Lord. Can't go wrong with that. So I this is a good choice, but again, mostly because the faction doesn't have the most units. It's not like Stormcast where there's a billion choices, so you can afford to have bad unit choices.
Yeah, it's how I feel about AOS. I know I've said it many times in the past when we used to talk a lot more AOS, but it just feels like some of the armies are just not finished.
Mm-hmm.
But yep, so we got them. They got their cards, their dice, classic black and red. Horus Heresy, we're getting the torso upgrades. So rip the old ones soon. Because I assume you can still get the Forge World ones, right? If you really wanted to, or are they completely out of production?
Which ones?
The Forge World Contemptor Dreadnoughts, with the full
Yeah,
decoration.
they are out of. So they're just selling their stock once it's gone. They're just gonna replace them. Want to replace them with these, which I have complained about these. The community's complained about it. It just sucks. I mean, I get it if the mold's broke, whatever, but it just sucks that they're not replacing the full model.
Yeah, it is a shame. That's coming out. Middle Earth. Looks like we're getting a bunch of made to order stuff again. Some cave trolls, some humans, some old elves, some orcs. And of course, you can't go wrong with the Witch King on the dragon.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see what else we got. Black Library. We're getting books. A Soul Blight book. We're getting the Hollow King, which I believe he had a Black Library model of, if I recall correctly. This is kind of old. I'm surprised this is here. And then for Warhammer Plus, be getting a Lore Master of the Unforgiven and a battle report for Warhammer Age of Sigmar, featuring the Bone Reapers and I assume Soul Blight as well. And that is that. So, I know, they're going as slaves to darkness. There we go. So that is that. Again, not too big. A lot of stuff that was talked about at Adepticon in this preview. Moving on to the next thing here. Heresy Thursday. This is the John complaining corner here. So, John, all tanks can learn new tricks.
So essentially, they're re-releasing some tanks with plastic sprues. I mean, I don't care is my best. Right, personally, I just don't care about this. That's my criticism or praise, I guess, because that people were complaining about this a lot, mainly because people were complaining that Forge World tricked the community by removing these tanks from the store, which the people were like, oh, they're gonna come out in plastic, right? And no, they're just re-releasing them with the new plastic spawn sins that have more options. So people are like, oh, they deceived us, they lied. It's like, I mean, kind of came to that conclusion. It still sucks though. I mean, I would love to have a plastic glaive and a plastic fell blade. Plastic falchion would be awesome. Plastic javelin would be amazing. This land speeder, but no, they're staying in resin and getting
Plastic
plastic,
upgrades.
yeah, sponsons. And I guess my complaint, if there is one, is they didn't reveal any new models at Adepticon. They promised us plastic infantry, and yet the next Heresy Thursday is not even new tanks. It's resin tanks with plastic sponsons. Like, okay. And they're probably gonna raise the price on these because
Well,
got
yeah,
more
more
options,
options. Come on.
So, yeah, it's whatever. I'm still waiting for more plastic infantry. Like, come on, Forge World, where's my plastic infantry?
They're on the list, John. One day.
Eventually coming, but yeah, yeah, whatever. Could be worse. Could be the Dreadnought debacle, but it's still not the best. I'm still annoyed that it's not plastic infantry.
Yeah, well, I mean, Warhammer Fest is coming up, so I'm sure they're saving it for that. But speaking of Warhammer Fest, it is going to be the first place that you get to play the new edition, 10th edition. This will be the 29th of April. So I'm sure your plastic Space Marines will be revealed here, John.
Yes. There we go.
But of course, I'm looking more forward to seeing how 10th will actually play out. You know, we're going to get bit by bit here in the coming coming days, weeks.
What would make 10th suck for you? I should ask some of my friends this. Like, what would be bad about 10th with the information we have so far?
Well, with the information we have so far, I mean, it's hard to say, right? Because right now, with the information we have so far, is that everything is going to just be bland, right? Everything is just going to be, as far as we know, no craft world, no specific Space Marine chapters.
So no, they're having that. It's in the detachment article.
Well, I mean, we haven't gotten there yet, but
but
as before all that information had came out, that was, you know, it just sounds like it's going to be very little uninteresting. But we'll have to just wait and see, right? Because I just want the armies to feel unique. I don't want it to be like 30k. Not a diss on 30k, but I equate 30k to like historicals, right? Everything's the same.
I mean, yeah, like if 30k was for if every faction had the depth the legions had, it would be a nightmare for sure. I would also not like that. You know, Eldar had craft world rules that were like 20 pages each. Yeah, that would not be good for sure.
Yeah. But I mean, as of right now, I haven't seen anything that tells me that 10th edition is going into the wrong direction. As of right now.
Same. I don't think that I don't know. I can't think of anything that would mess 10th edition up that they could realistically do. Because they're addressing the problems with 9th. I mean, and they're releasing. Okay, if they because they're not doing it right. Because I'm thinking like, oh, if the rules were paywalled at launch, like the indexes, that would kind of suck. But they're not doing that. They're just releasing optional data cards. So that's not an issue. But yeah, I can't really think of anything realistic, right? I can't think of anything realistic they could do to bungle this edition. And even 10th, it kind of I'm not saying 10th, sorry, 9th edition. I'm not saying 9th edition is a bad edition, but it kind of grew into the bloat, so to speak. So I think at launch the game's gonna be great. Now the future, if it's just gonna go back to a different kind of bloat, then that would suck. But it seems that they have dedicated the edition to remove that bloat as a it's a driving force of their design is removing that bloat. I mean, just looking at the detachment rules and the data sheets is kind of evidence of that. So yeah, I'm excited for it. But honestly, like I'm not picky. Like there's new models, I'll play with the new models. I kind of don't care, to be honest, because I know it's not going to be terrible. I mean, I play Heresy Thursday. That game sucks. Like actually sucks as a game. So I think I'll be down for whatever.
Well, now that I thought about it, I know what would make 10th edition suck. If they didn't keep their promise of making it simple. Right?
Well, right, but
Their whole campaign is that it's going to be simplified, not simple. Okay, so if they go back to what you said, the bloat, that's when it's going to start good and getting really bad again.
Yeah, which could happen in the future. But it seems that they're dedicated to not making that happen, especially if their plan is to make 40K mainstream. Having a hard to get into game would be I'm looking at these articles and it's just like a lot of the decisions they're making are just making the game simplified, which I don't know how they would go back on that. They could just add more rules, more factions, but I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. I can't think of anything realistic that they could do besides just not do the thing they said they're gonna do, which is possible.
Well, let's look at the building an army then. Let's take a look at this, shall we? So, we got the standard, select your battle size, army roster, faction, detachment rules, units, and promote your warlord. So, battle sizes. They're sticking to incursion, strike force, onslaught, 1,000 points, 2,000 points, and 3,000. They say 500-point games are still perfectly possible, just not what they have in mind for the core rules. So I assume the 500-point games would more likely just be like combat patrols.
Right.
But something that caught my eye, was the next line. Power levels are a thing of the past. Now, I know why power levels were introduced, but I never liked power levels. I thought they made the game really broken, just for what you could do with them. You wanted to have a Harlequin squad full of fusion pistols for no extra cost? Go right ahead. It was just, I don't know. To me, it felt like a more broken game with power levels in there. Now that that's gone, I mean, we kind of predicted, or kind of guessed, I wouldn't say predicted, we kind of guessed that power levels were gone when we looked at that Termagant sheet, and we didn't see any levels or power level on that card.
But yeah, man, like,
They're
yeah,
gone.
no, you're right.
I do wonder, because I do know a couple people, how Crusade's gonna work now that the power level is gone. I wonder, are they gonna go escalation, like 200 points next Crusade, or what are they gonna do for that game system? Because they said they're still gonna keep Crusades around.
Yeah, that's a good question. It's funny though, you were talking about how like, yeah, Harlequins with free fusion pistols. Yeah, that would can't imagine a game like that. Like a game with Space Marines and free war gear. Can't imagine, right? 40K like that.
Yeah, well, I mean, I know that's what's happening now, but
Yeah, which is just funny.
there was a difference.
Which I think stuff like that is part of why they made some design decisions. I think with the edition, like making the weapons tied. Sorry, by making weapon skill and mobile skill tied to specific weapons. But anyways, going back to Crusade, yeah, I think maybe they'll just go to a point system with Crusade. I mean, that's what AOS with AOS has no power level. They probably just do what Path to Glory is.
Maybe. I mean, I tried to run a Crusade campaign with my group, and we tried to just do points, and I don't know, it kind of just fell apart. So we kind of just gave up on it. But yeah, that's a big thing for anyone who likes to use power levels. No longer a thing. Moving on to the next bold point here, we got our army roster. Apparently, they're gonna have army rosters you can print up and write in if you really want to in the 40K app. Let's just hope the 40K app actually works this time.
Yes, let's hope the 40K app works.
Let's hope I don't have to be in Kansas for it to actually work, or whatever that bug was when it first released.
I hope it works this time. AOS has a workable app, guys. You could do it. It's very possible. The AOS app is amazing.
But yeah, apparently they're gonna have a downloadable blank roster that you can print out. If you want to do that, I don't really know anyone who's ever written down anything for an army list, unless it's like on the fly where they forgot to make a list and they don't have Battle Scribe or whatever available to them at that time. But yeah, you get that. Still get to pick your own faction. They said in the last paragraph there, if you wanted to play a larger game representing, let's say, Imperial Indominus Crusade Fleet, just combining, I would assume, Space Marines and Sisters. Just as an example, you can do that, but it'd be more like a casual thing.
Yeah, I can imagine like a narrative play thing where, yeah, it seems that based on this statement, it seems that you cannot do allies outside your primary faction, like Space Marines, Imperial Guard, Chaos Space Marines, Chaos Demons. So I'm sure they could change that. They're not very explicit, but it does sound like
What is it?
Faction will be the order of the day.
As it says, it's in this paragraph, it is assumed that a force will be drawn from a single faction.
Yeah.
So it looks like they're going to the mono way.
Okay, they confirmed that Chaos Demons, Knights, and Gene Sealer cults can do cross faction.
Yeah,
it's at the very bottom, which makes sense.
Yeah. Selecting detachments. So
yeah, these are interesting. This detachment thing.
You want to give your thoughts on it then?
Yeah, so it sounds like instead of having a sub faction like a chapter or craft world, tomb world, or clan, Tyranid High Fleet, you just pick a single set of detachment rules for your army. So these include army abilities, enhancements, which is a copy paste from AOS. Enhancements means warlord traits, relics, etc. Stratagems and unit restrictions. That's an interesting one. So the example they give is the Gladius Task Force, which is kind of the basic Space Marine detachment. So if you do Gladius Task Force, your faction will get the Oath of Moment army rule, which they'll talk about later. And then your detachment will give... the Space Marine army rule is Oath of Moment. And the detachment gives you access to 6 stratagems and the Combat Doctrines +ability. So before I go on, it does sound like you'll have 6 core stratagems and then 6 army stratagems, which is great. That's, 6 plus 6 is way less than 60 that most factions have now for stratagems. And then you get 4 enhancements, which again, warlord traits, relics, etc. So yeah, it sounds that the chapter rules are condensed in that way, and I can imagine the chapter rules or clan rules or whatever will determine special characters. For example, if you play Blood Angels, then you can pick Dante, but if you play Dark Angels, well, you can't pick Dante. You could pick the Lion or Azrael, for example. but that's all tied in this kind of faction detachment thing. And then you could have the same army and then just swap the detachments, and then you'll get different rules, which is super cool. And they also specify that they will not be tied the detachments to color scheme. Gladius Task Force can be used by anyone, not just Ultramarines. Now, it does not say if there's an Ultramarines detachment that it's Ultramarines only or something. There's always been a gray area. I mean, we talked about that before in the podcast. It's always a weird area where your color scheme dictates your faction rules. So, but they do emphasize that there will be detachment rules that aren't chapter specific, that any chapter can use Gladius Task Force as long as you're Space Marines. But again, going back, it sounds like if you want to play like a Dark Angels force, you'll have to pick a Dark Angels detachment of the Space Marine faction. So it's possible that if you want to play with the Lion, that you can't use the Gladius Task Force because that is a generic one for Space Marines. Maybe you'll have a generic one for Chaos Space Marines where you can't use certain characters, like you can't use Huron Blackheart, for example. So I like it. It makes it easy. You know, instead of like your faction and then your sub-faction, but your sub-faction is the same codex as your faction, but it's also not, and you have access to these units, but you need another book for that, and I like the simplicity of you pick a faction and a detachment, and the detachment gives you 6 extra stuff, and then 6 extra stratagems and 4 extra enhancements. Bam, good to go. You get an ability. Actually, kind of very AOS. AOS factions are like that, where if you pick a certain Soul Blight clan, you get access to Warlord traits, a couple of relics, and a pretty simple faction rule and command ability.
Well, I'm glad you said AOS
What's up?
because I said I'm glad you said AOS because that's what I've been getting a lot of feelings with 10th edition so far. Is
Yeah.
it feels a lot like they're stealing a little bit out of AOS.
Yep. Which is good because there's a lot of good things you could take from Age of Sigmar.
I not complaining.
Yep. Absolutely.
But yeah, in terms of detachments, I just need to see a little bit more of it before I form a solid opinion. But
That's fair.
when I first saw detachments, I'm like, oh no, I hope we're not going back to that 7th edition system.
Yeah, thankfully.
But yeah, so far so good. But yeah, we'll be taking that. Picking units. So you have to have at least one character, one epic hero. So those are your special characters, your special named characters. They're the epic heroes. Up to 3 of the same unit. So you know, it's still the same. You can only have a max of 3 Terminator units, 3 whatever, and obviously we're getting AOS terminology here, battle line, which is obviously going to be your, you know, your basic troops, Gaunts, Space Marines, Guardians, etc. You know, and you can have up to 6 of them. So pretty standard stuff. I don't know if they explain the epic hero. It just says you can include only one of each named epic hero. So, I mean, that's always been standard, but can I run another epic hero?
Yeah, it kind of suggests that based on just this wording, you know, if I'm applying a strict Magic the Gathering level rules reading of this, it sounds like it's a max of one of each epic hero, so you can have Guilliman and Calgar and Tigris in your army, but you cannot have 3 Gullimans.
Well,
I guess they have to specify that because I guess some people still want to include 3 Mortarians. I guess they exist.
and
So
man, you remember Smite special rule last edition when that
I
first came
do.
out?
Yep.
And everyone's just like, well, it doesn't say Yeah, what was the wording? It doesn't say you can only can't be cast after. I can't remember the wording now, but basically it boiled down to a unit could spam smite if they had the spell slots to do it. So
Yep.
everyone was just like, "Hey, well, you know what? Let's just make Magnus a super smiter," and then that was a thing for a few weeks before GW finally did it. Because everyone knew smite could only be cast by one person. But you get one person who's like, "Well, I interpret it this way," and people are like, "Yeah, I see it your way as well," and then
Yeah. So it makes sense why they clarified that.
gotta clarify some things. But I would in this situation, I would assume that it would, no one would be taking 3 lions, 3 Gillimans kind of deal here. But then again, you don't know. You don't know how people will act sometimes. But yes, we're getting that. Just another key thing I didn't mention: battle line and or dedicated transports. So I think that is going to be a slight nerf to vehicles, right there. The dedicated transports, though, there's only really one army I can think of that would be really affected by that. That comes to mind, which would be Dark Eldar. Given
Yeah.
how swarmy they are with their
Right.
vehicles.
Right. I mean, do you ever see more than 6 raiders? Maybe. I don't know.
Well, I mean, it says dedicated transports, so Venoms are technically dedicated transports too.
Right. No, I don't think they mean you can only have 6 dedicated transports, but it's like 6 of each because yeah, 6 of each unit data sheet with the battle line or dedicated. Yeah. So I think the keyword is each. So you could have 6 venoms and 6 raiders, but you cannot have 7 or 8 venoms, right?
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see a little bit, but I would agree with what you're saying.
Yeah.
So that is that. Selecting the warlord, blah blah blah. You choose one character. Leader gains the warlord keyword. That is pretty much been the same forever. So
Yep.
that is that on that whole article. Again, some big changes. Big changes that we're seeing there.
Something that they mentioned in this article too that we missed is they're trying to put all of these rules in, well, the detachment stuff and enhancements, they're all going to go in one page, maybe 2 pages.
I did miss that. I did not see that.
It's at the very bottom. It's like no detachment will ever need more than a couple of pages to cover. Yeah, so all the rules for Ulthway, all the rules for Blood Angels, all the rules for Black Legion will be in 2 pages most.
Hmm.
Which I again is good because it's simplified. Everything's there. Yeah. So
Yeah. Well, this reminds me. My friends, one of my other gaming groups likes to do something called one-page rules. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
I do. I am familiar. I hate 1 page rules.
You
For
hate
the record,
one-page rules.
I hate
Okay.
1 page rules.
Yeah. So when I hear this is all going to be on one page, I'm just like, wow. I guess they're really going to go that route, huh? But yeah, I don't mind it. I'm glad everything will be on 1-2 pages, and I don't have to flip through an entire book to find it. Because I stand by what I say. 9th edition books formatted horribly.
Yeah.
Formatted horribly. But we got more Warhammer news. We got 2 more articles here. Second article is the anatomy of the new datasheet. So right here we get to see the Intercessor squad. We get to see that their movement 6, stiffness 4, 3 up save, 2 wounds, pretty much the same as always. Their leadership is 6+, and obviously, objective control is 2. But we get a little more information on what a lot of this stuff means. So objective control is, I think last week I said it was a unit that was worth it. In this article, they are clarifying that it is each model that is worth X amount of points. So no longer it's objective secure a thing where, I don't know, we'll say one Eldar Guardian is still on the thing against 10 Terminators, right?
Mm-hmm.
And taking that objective away from them. So now those 10 Terminators, I'll assume, are 1 point each. If all 10 are within the objective, that's 10 points on that objective. While your normal battle line troops will be worth 2 points. Though I think it does nerf the troops a little bit. Because obviously objective secure was a very powerful thing, as that example I just gave proved, right? If they didn't wipe out that unit and they were not objective secured, you would own that objective. Now this makes it a little more balanced, but I don't know. It will be hard to say. I wonder how good vehicles will be with their objective control, if they'll be good at all.
Right.
Because they have mentioned that some vehicles will be as tough as toughness 12. So that is a big difference than what we normally see, which is like toughness 8 on a Land Raider. Like, very strange number, but with that them being that tough now, I wonder if they'll be good at holding objectives, maybe like a minimum of 5 objective control. We'll have to wait and see, because we don't have much on that. How does leadership work? So, leadership is now a role higher than what your leadership is. So, for the example, the intercessors are 6+. They now have to roll 2 dice and get a 6+ in order to pass the leadership test. And they gave a little more examples where this will come into effect. Come into effect when the unit is at half strength during the command phase. Any time they would take a battle shock test. Doesn't say anything about them running like they would have done in previous editions.
Yeah, I think they're gonna go away with running, it seems.
Well, it
I
never
have
really
heard
made
that.
sense.
I think someone made mention in the stream, and is that there's no more running away. You just get debuffs for if you fail your battle shock.
Yeah, well, I mean, it says right here, should you fail, you have harder times capturing objectives or using stratagems or falling back from combat. It kind of reminds me a little bit of the new Star Wars Legion.
Yeah, I was gonna say actually, it does remind me of that. I freaking love that new rule. Anyways, I'll talk about that later. But yeah,
yeah, so we're getting that. We'll have to wait and see, because that's pretty much all they've told us so far. We don't really know, like, if a unit's at half strength, do they have to take them around every command phase, or is it a one-time thing kind of deal? So we're still waiting on a few more information on leadership, but we'll see if it becomes as impactful as they are claiming right now.
Mm-hmm.
Weapon skill, ballistic skill, strength, and attacks. Everything just got moved down to the weapon profiles. So we'll just go ahead and look at that. Bolt pistol, 1 attack, 3+ ballistic skill. Standard stuff for a Space Marine. The close combat weapon, obviously 3 attacks, weapon skill 3, strength 4. So it's basically the same thing as in the old rules, right? These are the old stat lines. Obviously, every weapon is gonna have something different. So, Power Fists will be, I'm gonna assume 3 attacks, weapon skill 4, strength. You think they put strength 8? I think they'll put just strength 8, right?
What do you mean for?
If for power fist, right?
Yeah, it would just be strength 8.
Yeah, they're not gonna do the 2 times.
No, I don't think they're gonna do that anymore. Well, because the models have no strength.
True.
So
So yeah,
yeah.
that'll be just strength 8. Uh, they've also mentioned that many core abilities from classic weapon types like assault, rapid fire, and fight weapons will go into the rules more than in the upcoming articles. It does make me wonder if they're gonna bring back some other classic rules like twin linked, if that's gonna be
Oh yeah.
re-rolls or if that's just gonna be 2 shots like it has
Yeah.
been for the last 2 editions.
Oh, it's 2 shots. They started bringing that to 30k, and it's way better. I mean, 2 shots is objectively better than 1 twin link shot. Like,
It just makes sense, right?
it just makes sense. Yeah,
You have 2 shots. Why would you only be rolling 1 dice, right?
exactly, exactly.
Wonder if stuff like rending will come back, but it's all speculations, and they said they're going to be covering that next week, so we'll have to look out for that article. And that is pretty much that for the 10th edition bits that they've given us this week.
Yeah, I like the new data sheet.
I mean, it's a lot easier to read, right?
Yeah, and they took away the. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Sorry. Again, stealing Age of Sigmar. Because this is what all Age of Sigmar's weapons are, pretty much.
Right.
So, everyone may hate on Age of Sigmar, but 40k has come around.
I think people stop hating Age of Sigmar now because they realize, wow, it's actually a good game.
Oh, I mean, I was in that camp. I hated Age of Sigmar. But then again, I wasn't really a big fan of fantasy either.
Right, which is fair.
But Age of Sigmar just had the problem. To clarify, in case it's like your first time here, because I talked about this way back in our first setup episodes. I hated Age of Sigmar because it didn't have any structure.
Mm-hmm.
Once Age of Sigmar 2.0 came out, I really enjoyed Age of Sigmar. But the first iteration, I did not enjoy. And it wasn't because they killed off my army, the Tomb Kings, or whatever. It just had no structure to it. Now that it has structure, it's a good game. I like it. And I'm glad they're importing some of that stuff into 40k. Because it really does make the game a lot more simpler when it's just this does this.
Mm-hmm.
But are you ready for the new model Monday? Or is there anything else you want to add to this?
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely excited based on the models, and the rules don't make me less excited. I don't. But on the flip side, the rules don't make me excited. I'm not like, ooh, I want to play 9th edition. Like I'm just giving up. Which Games Workshop making a good game, so I'm just there for the models. Like I've been playing Star Wars Legion so much the past few months, and it's like actually a good game. And I'm gonna be playing Shatterpoint, and that looks like an actually good game. And then you got Warhammer, where it's like it's not a bad game. Like Warhammer's not a bad game. 30k is a bad game, but 40k and AOS aren't bad games. They're kind of good games at some level, right? I'm gonna take back. I'm not gonna say they're not good games at all, but other games are easily better. So I'm not excited to play 40k. I'm excited to play 40k because I want to hang out with my buddies, like Matt. I want to play with the new models, and I want to work, paint the new models and all that. I'm not excited about 40k as a game in itself, the way I am for other games.
Yeah.
So, and I'm pretty satisfied with the rules. The rules are not turning me off from the game because they could, like 40k could release some really cool models, but if the rules are terrible, I only have enough space in my soul for one terrible game, and that's Horus Heresy. Anymore, and I would just start hating myself. So that's yeah. I'm hyped about 10th, but not for the rules. But the rules are not bad from what I see.
All right. Well, I already know what you're hyped for about 10th edition, and that's this new lieutenant model right here.
I know you're being sarcastic, but I actually really like this lieutenant. This lieutenant is like fucking the best lieutenant they've released in almost forever, minus the bear head, because he looks dope. Like he's got the Tyranid carapace, freaking Tyranid blood from his knife. Got a sling bolter. Oh man, this is really cool. Actually, this screams like I am a veteran of the fight against the Xenos menace, and I will save humanity with my 2 combat knives.
Why
This
does
is
he
great.
have a carapace tied to his shoulder? That's pretty heretical, if you ask me.
It's yeah, absolutely, but he doesn't care because he's in the thick of it. He has no time to clean his armor.
I mean, he's not like cleaned up. I mean, he strapped that in. He's using that for actual armor
Right, he doesn't. I guess he doesn't have the time to
repair.
repair it. There we go. Sorry, I meant repair it.
Yeah, it's actually a really well done model in terms of as far as Primaris lieutenants can go. It's a stellar model, and I look forward to seeing this model probably in the most expensive version of the 10th edition box. If I had to guess where he's going to be coming from. But that is that, John. That is all the Warhammer news.
Oh, I got one more.
You got one more. Oh, all right. What do you got?
They revealed the Lion's release box and his rules.
Oh, I totally forgot about this. I'm not gonna lie. I totally forgot that this got leaked out. The Lion, yes. Yeah. So we got him 2+, 6 strength, T6, 9 wounds, 10 attacks, which is a lot of attacks for a beast character like this. I think Gilliman only has 6 attacks, if I recall.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember the other Primarchs. I think Morty might come close. I think Angron beats him though. I haven't fought Angron. I have not looked at Angron's rules, but I'm pretty sure Angron has more attacks. So yeah, we're getting that.
Yeah, he gets like 20 attacks with his
He gets 20 attacks with his sweeping ability.
Yep, sweeping ability.
AP3 2 damage, or his strike, which is +4 strength, so making him strength 10. AP5 4 damage. Basically just a monster.
I mean, his rules are going to change, but it's probably going to be very similar to what this is with the new edition. So, and he can also deep strike using the force of Caliban. Kind of webway vibes there. I wonder how that's going to work in the lore.
I don't know. I'm sure it's his, his warp abilities. He's got the Emperor Shield, which any save of 6+ gets him dishes out mortal wounds up to 3, so he's gonna be a beast. And then obviously he's coming in a box with 3 Blade Guard, which I don't know, with my gaming group, not very happy about this. No, because they don't want more Blade Guard. They kind of just wanted the Lion.
Yeah, I'm picking this up. I think I'm committed. I don't know if I mentioned in the cast, but I'm committed to doing Dark Angels in 10th edition as my Sorrow Box army. But yeah, I thankfully have a buddy who wants the Blade Guard, but because I'm exactly the same as what you mentioned. I already have Blade Guard. I don't need more Blade Guard, but it's such a cool model. I could just sell the Blade Guard off. I wouldn't mind going to the trouble of doing it because I really like the Lion model. But I agree that it would be better if you don't have to have Blade Guard to sell if you didn't want them. Just have the line in the box. That would have been better, but yeah.
I mean, I took a break during this time. Was Gilliman released separately or no?
No, he came with Celestine and Greyfax.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah, that's right.
But I mean, that was like 3 character models, so
Yeah.
this is just 3 generic Blade
No, no,
Guard.
was it no, I'm so sorry. It wasn't Celestine and Greyfax. That was in Belisarius. No, Gilliman came with Cypher and the Grey Knight guy.
Okay.
But
Again,
yeah, his point still stands. He came with other things, not by himself.
yeah. But there we go. That is the line. I totally forgot about this leak that happened, which is why they put out this article. Because I did see the blurry picture. I think Wednesday is when the or was it Tuesday? It was one of those days where this got leaked out. So of course GW in fashion just released a whole article about it, probably earlier than expected. But there we go. Now we are officially done with the Warhammer section. And we got the big news from last week. Some Star Wars Legion. You wanna walk me through this, John? Cause you know these characters a lot better than I
Yeah.
do.
Are you just going through the order I sent the pictures in?
Yes, I got the Bad Batch on screen here.
Yeah, so is that all I sent? There's way more. Let me send some more stuff really quick. So first, yeah, we got the Bad Batch. So it's funny that this is the first thing because this is the last thing that's coming out. I think they said it's coming out end of the year, so like fall, winter. But the Bad Batch is a group of elite clone commandos. They're clones, but they have genetic defects that makes them more individualistic, so they don't all look exactly the same. Some of them, are buffer, some of them are skinnier, some of them are better marksmen, some of them are better at tech. Some of them have natural leadership abilities, and then you got Omega, which is the little girl with the arrow, who is also a clone, but she is a girl clone of Jango Fett. But yeah, this is again like a Republic unit and a Rebel unit. So if you take them in Republic, you'll get the 2 dudes on the left. So the Bad Batch, the original Bad Batch for the Republic, are the 2 dudes on the left, the 2 dudes on the right, and the center guy. And the center guy eventually turns traitor and joins the Empire. Well, because actually, technically, the Bad Batch turned traitor against the Empire, and Crosshair remains loyal to the cause. But they gained a new ally in Omega, who comes into their care, and they don't. I haven't seen the show, but it doesn't seem like they necessarily joined the Rebel Alliance. But in the game, they'll be part of they can be taken by the Rebel faction, obviously without Crosshair, but you get Omega instead. So it's super cool that you have this one. It's a new Republic unit. Republic has been starving for units for a while. Cody's coming out this month, which is hype. So having more stuff for this faction is great. And then also Rebels get a new red save unit. Obviously these guys will have red saves because they're fully armored like stormtroopers and clone troopers. So having this unit for Rebels will be super cool. And they're an elite commando squad. I can imagine what kind of special rules they're gonna have. They'll reflect that kind of individualistic fighting styles and that they have. So this is super cool. I am for sure picking this up. And then next we got some Inquisitors. So are you familiar with Inquisitors in Star Wars?
I saw a little bit of Ben Kenobi, and
Yeah.
that's all I literally know is they hunt Jedi and they have a Darth Maul kind of saber kind of deal, and that's about it.
Yeah, essentially you got most of it right. I mean, you got most of it. They are kind of captured Jedi after Order 66 that get tortured and brainwashed to serve the Empire to hunt other Jedi. And yeah, they all wield dual sabers that spin like helicopters. And these Inquisitor designs are from the Star Wars Rebels show. And this will be a new operative unit for Empire, which is pretty exciting. because you'll finally Empire gets a speed 2 Force user with jump 2, and in the stream they mentioned that you'll be able to take 2 of them for one operative slot, so you can run 2 of these guys and then operative Vader in your list, which is gonna be super fun. For sure, also picking these up because it's 2 characters. I don't know, are you excited about these? This is like the only Empire unit they revealed.
Considering I don't know anything outside of the movies, I can't really say if I'm really that happy, but
That's fair.
I mean, it's nice. It's something new. Will I pick them up? Probably not. I'm not gonna lie. Probably won't pick them up. But I'll have to see. I'll have to see the rules.
Yeah, their rules might be fun enough too. I mean, I'm gonna grab them just because I get everything at this point, especially if they're characters. You know, it's 2 models, right? I got a Sergeant. I don't even know if I'm gonna paint or build or paint her anytime soon. But yeah, it's 2 new models for Empire, and it's a new kind of thing for them, which again is a mobile Force user that can jump over buildings. So yeah, this is quite exciting. I can imagine they're gonna have some interesting rules as well to reflect their kind of fighting style, like the Bad Batch, because they're operatives. They probably have their own shtick, and not just something generic.
They'll probably get extra points for killing Jedi or Siths. You know.
Oh, that would be cool. Bounty Force user. Oh, that would be interesting. Yet if you take out a Force user, or because in Legion, a Force user is just someone with the Force upgrade slot, and all Force users have a Force upgrade slot. So yeah, that would be kind of cool. Bounty Force user. That would be interesting. Yeah, I like that. So yeah, that's the Inquisitors. And then the next we got some Geonosians. So this will be a new unit for Separatists. To confirm, there will be in their own battle force. They will come for sure with 2 HQ options. Unclear if it will come with a generic HQ option, but for sure they're going to have 2 named characters. We're going to have Poggle the Lesser from episode 2. He's the Geonosian leader guy that they show. And then we're going to have Sun Fac from the Republic Commando games as heroes. But I believe they're going to be core for Separatists. Maybe I'm just wish listing, but maybe they haven't specified if they're going to be core or special forces. But I would love for them to be core. I would love to run a Separatist army and not have battle droids and worry about AI or coordinate. It would be a very interesting take on the faction. Not mentioning that they fly and all that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is cool. For sure I am picking this up. Units are the things where I don't always pick up for Legion, just because I've gotten all I wanted now, and not all the new stuff is my cup of tea. Like lots of the Wookiee stuff and all that. Even the Ewok stuff we'll talk about later. Also not my cup of tea. But these guys are gonna be cool. Just again, so I could play Separatists and not play droids.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of having something different. So yeah, I like these, and weird alien creatures are always good for the game, I feel. And they're iconic. Geonosians are a big part of episode 2, and seeing them in model form is kind of neat. And for sure, they're gonna bring some cool gameplay to droids. Again, not just because they're not droids, but they fly, right? Probably gonna be lightly, have white saves, and maybe they'll have agile, so when they move, they get a dodge token. That would be interesting. Yeah, this is cool. Fast unit for droids.
I have to wait and see with a lot of this stuff. So.
And then next we got some
Shatterpoint.
No, if you scroll all the way down, I posted some more Legion stuff before we get to Shatterpoint.
All right.
So we got some cards for the Ewok Battle Force. So we got C-3PO as an HQ. This is amazing. We got C-3PO on the chair as an HQ for the Ewok faction. That's so funny. And of course he gets Guardian, because you gotta protect the 3 health robot from bounty hunters. And behind you also see Chewbacca, which is gonna be a ATSD for the Ewoks, where Chewbacca and his friends take over. So they have that vehicle option. And then you got some command cards for the Ewoks. So you get 4 of them for the battle force. They're pretty cool. They're pretty unique. Lots of cool interactions there you don't see a lot in Rebels. But my favorite is definitely log traps because I mean, it's 2 red dice, 3 black, range 1 to 4, impact 4, pierce 1. That'll ruin any vehicle's day. But it doesn't specify it's vehicle only, so I can imagine just using the log traps against like a clone commander or like a droid officer, just sniping them with some logs. That would be pretty funny because 5 dice, 2 red, 3 black, pierce 1. That'll murder a character with 4 health. So yeah, that's pretty funny.
Not looking good.
Not looking good for people fighting Ewoks.
Getting those log traps.
Yep. And finally we got an actual Ewok card. So we got Wicket, which is the famous Ewok from Return of the Jedi that meets Princess Leia. So independent dodge 1, low profile, nimble, those rules make sense for a small furry bear. He gets scout and scouting party, so his buddies get to scout with him. He got sharpshooter too, so he essentially ignores cover. He ignores difficult terrain. He has surge to crit. He has surge defense. He has white saves. His defensive stats are pretty standard, but dude, he has a spear and a sling, and they both have pierce. Like, what? You're telling me the spear just goes through armor?
Oh, they got a new keyword there. You got primitive.
Yeah, primitive. Actually, no one knows what that means yet. I believe the rumor is that you can't use pierce against armored units like vehicles, which makes sense. I can't imagine Wookiees being used to snipe vehicles with their slings.
I can
But
imagine that. He throws
What's
the
up?
rock. He throws the rock super hard. All right.
Yes. Well, I mean, apparently he throws it enough that it pierces Stormtrooper armor and Magna Guard armor. So there you go. And then we got Log Ray, which is one of the minor Ewok characters in the movie. So all we know is he has suppressive, and his lore seems that he is more of a support character.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what we got from the Ewoks. For sure, we know they're gonna come with a battle force. They're gonna come with a unit and some characters, and probably an upgrade card for the ATST that lets you run Chewbacca in it, which is quite fun. I don't think I'll play this faction. I like Ewoks from Return of the Jedi. I kind of don't care about them as a concept for a war game. I mean, I'm happy to play them. I'm glad they're in the game for the people who like Ewoks, but definitely not models I'm picking up anytime soon, if at all.
Yep. Well, you have one more card in here.
Yeah, we got we got the preview card for Ahsoka Tano. So she got jump 2, charge, defend 1. Defend 1 is if she gets an order, she gets a dodge token, which Anakin also has. So an apprentice and master there. She got deflect, immune pierce, standard for lightsaber user. And then we got Jarkai Mastery, which is like Asajj's thing, so she could use dodge tokens to improve attack hits. Interesting, it does not have Master of the Force, so no free taps for Force Push, which probably a balance reason because Force Push is OP. Red defense dice. Yep, 6 health. Courage 3. Pretty good. And then we got Surge to Crit, which is pretty nice. Surge to Crit is amazing, I think, for a lot of characters. It is all those times you roll attack dice and you get a bunch of surges and it's like, oh, that doesn't do anything. But well, with Ahsoka, get that surge to crit just like Luke. Her offensive profile with her dice, 2 red, 2 black, 2 white. It's pretty solid. Impact 2, pierce 2, 2 force slots, 2 training slots. Yeah, 165 points. I like it. No command cards revealed yet, but I'm already building Ahsoka Luke lists, and I am pretty excited to run them on the table. Because I've always wanted to do double Jedi with Rebels. I mean, I said I want to do double Jedi with droids, but kinda leaning towards playing more Empire now, especially because the local meta has a lot of droid players, so I always like having variety in the scene, so I'm trying to play some Empire and Shadow Collective, but for sure when Ahsoka drops, I want to just push myself to do double Jedi.
Well, and finally, you're playing on the winning side, so.
Yes, I am playing the winning side, along with the Empire. Finally, we got a Store Championship kit. So AMG is bringing back the Store Championships because we just had Worlds, which was won by the Empire, and actually was won by the previous Worlds winner, Luke Cook. So don't even have a new World Champion. The same one just tore the place up. And it even needs a medal list. The medal list for Empire are either Blizzard Force or Dark Troopers, and he just came in with Boba Fett, IG-88, bunch of Shore Troopers and Snipers. Boba Fett currently has a 100% win rate in the World Championships. So, yeah, but
You can't go wrong.
Can't go wrong with the Fett, man. AMG's bringing back Store Championship, so these kits will have one World's invite per kit, and more if you have more players in your event. And some really cool promo cards. I really want that Boba Fett and Darth Vader card, plus a bunch of other promo things. So yeah, this is cool. It's actually kind of hype because I like promos. A lot of people like promo cards, promo stuff for their mini games, and this is just incentivizing places to have more events, and I am all for it.
Yeah, I kind of wish I didn't have to work Saturdays or Sundays because that's usually when the tournaments happen.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I mean, I wouldn't call myself a pro by any means. I consider myself still kind of a novice at the game, but I mean, these promotions make me want to go to a championship.
Yeah, and I like the local store I go to, Geeky Tees in Burbank. The guy who runs the Legion event, she always does so the best prizes always go to first place and last place. And so if first place gets a unit, right, like a unit in a box, last place also gets that. So, even if you do terribly, you still get a prize, which is pretty cool. And there's always raffles, and everyone that participates gets like a promo card. Yeah, they're fun. But yeah, the community is very casual. I mean, even we have some competitive-ish players, but most of us, well, I'm considered in the competitive side because that's where I get placed during when we have leagues. So, but yeah, we got a lot of cool new players who are getting their feet wet and growing community. So, yeah, it's exciting.
All right, well, shall we jump through these last few models here?
Yeah, so we got some Shatterpoint stuff. Yeah, they kind of. I'm not gonna go through individual picks, but they kind of just blew the hatch with these announcements for Shatterpoint. Because when Shatterpoint came out, it's like, oh yeah, we're gonna have Clone Wars stuff to start, and then slowly we're gonna get more things. And it's like, nah, dude. Not only do you get Mace Windu and Cad Bane and the Night Sisters, you also get Inquisitors from Obi-Wan. You get Padme from Episode 1. You get Darth Vader. You get some Ewoks again. You got Luke Skywalker. And then you got Leia and Lando and R2-D2 from Tatooine and Return of the Jedi fighting Jabba. And then you got the Rebels crew from Star Wars Rebels. Man, they just definitely dropped the hammer here with the Shatterpoint reveals. And I am hyped to hell. I am so glad I am pre-ordered this game. I am for sure gonna run. It's in Shatterpoint. You get two teams. Each of these picks is a team, right? You get two teams when you build your force. I am gonna for sure do Vader in one team and the Stormtroopers, and then Inquisitors in the other. This is super cool. I am hyped for this game. But yeah, it's a lot of stuff, and it goes to show that AMG is really committing to this game and to Legion. Legion got a lot of announcements, and I think that they're willing to support both games because both games do serve different niches. Legion being the mass battle war game, and then Shatterpoint being the skirmish level. Less, you got 10 models or less. Usually less than 10 models from what I see here. A skirmish game where you don't have a lot of models and you play shorter games, right? So yeah, this is super cool. Super hype. Super hype.
A lot of stuff I would not have expected. Padme being one of them.
Yeah, it's hilarious. You got not just Padme, like Episode 1 Padme and Keira Knightley as the queen. And then you got Ewoks again, because why not, right? But yeah, dude, Shatterpoint is cool.
I mean, it looks cool. I mean, the scaling, the more detail.
Yeah, bigger models.
It looks, it looks gorgeous. Will I be picking up? I don't know. This one, I'll sit on the fence on this one.
Yeah, it is another game to learn, and I actually looked at they've been releasing articles for Shatterpoint. We haven't really been talking about it because it's a lot. But yeah, they showed the unit card, and it's like kind of confusing, and I'm like, ooh, this is kind of intimidating. But I'll learn it.
You'll learn it. You'll teach. You'll teach the group.
Yeah, if you guys are interested. But my gosh, it is this. I mean, it's a skirmish game, so they could afford to have more granular rules, and they're definitely having granular rules. Like you could pick different forms of lightsaber stances in mid game, which is very cool, but also, my gosh, that's a lot of rules.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll see how it goes. Any idea when this is coming out?
So this is coming out in June. So June is pretty packed actually for
Oh,
releases in the tabletop world. You got Shatterpoint in June. What else is coming out in June, Matt?
you know what it is. War Machine. Can't wait.
Oh, dude, yeah, the new Trolls faction. Yeah, no, 40K Tank is coming out in June, and also the Lord of the Rings set for Magic the Gathering, which is kind of a big deal, is also coming out in June. Did you hear about that? The Magic the Gathering set?
I have heard some things about Lord of the Rings Magic the Gathering.
Have you heard about the One Ring thing?
No.
So they're releasing a One Ring card, right? Like it's like a special foil, super cool looking card, right? But there's only going to be one copy of the card in one of the collector boosters. Exactly one copy.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think the market price is already 100,000 right now for that card. If you could find it, it's probably gonna sit in a warehouse for years, just like the real ring in the movies. It's in a cave for decades. But yeah, that's coming
Uh,
out in June too.
can't wait to hear the stories about that.
Hmm.
Alrighty then. Well, we've been going on for quite a while here. You want to get into the hobby ranch really fast?
Yeah. When yeah.
Alrighty then. Let's start with you. What have you been up to, John?
Same as always. 30K in Legion. Played a 30K game last week. Actually, I haven't played 30K in a bit, and by a bit I mean like 2 weeks. So, but yeah, played some 30K. Played against some Emperor's Children. I played it with my Word Bearers. And yeah, Galvor back are quite nasty. They really, unless you have the tools to deal with them, they will just murder you. So I ran into 10 Galvor back and Argol Tal, and the rest of my army was there. And I charged like 5 Terminators, Emperor Shoal Terminators, and then over the course of the next few turns, and I didn't kill them. I didn't wipe them out, which had me worried. I'm like, oh shoot, I didn't wipe them out with my 10 dudes. Like, it's not good. Because he had a lot of special rules that, he had defensive stances that were minus, so I was -1 to hit him. He had Sonic Shrieker, so it's another -1, so I was hitting him on 6s first round of combat. But yeah, so I didn't wipe him, and then I got charged by his Contemptor, who killed my Contemptor, and like a 20-man assault squad, and I was like, oh no, this is not good. But then Lorgar had my back, and eventually the powers of the warp made my Galvor back grind them down slowly by slowly, and the support came in from my possessed Contemptor Dreadnought, who made the assault squad run away, and actually also the Tartaro squad run away. And at that point, my opponent GG'd because my Maragal, which is the possessed Contemptor, had killed his Contemptor. He had 2, I had 2. And he didn't have any tools to defeat that at that point. He had it wasn't full health. He did no damage to it. And I had 6 possessed left. And an Argol Tal, and he had 1 Terminator. He had his Contemptor at 4 health fighting my 6 Galvor back that had 2 Power Fists. And his assault squad was down to 6 models. So at that point he GG'd, but I didn't know I would get it. I was actually worried that I would just be ground down by the numbers of units that he had. But I eventually prevailed, just because he didn't have AP2 weapons, which is the thing. Because last week the same thing happened, or not last week. The last time I played 30K, I played against Imperial Fists, and I got charged by several units, but they had Power Fist and AP2 weapons, so eventually he beat the Galvor back. But yeah, this time they had rending weapons, but they weren't AP3. Sorry, they weren't AP2, which means that, or sorry, they weren't AP3. high strength weapons, which means that they they couldn't shoot through my sabes, right? So and they couldn't shoot through the dreadnought either. So eventually I got the win there, which was glory to Lorgar, right? Also played a game of Legion. I actually got third place in the local league, which was super fun. Um, I'm actually happy because the first and second place players were like newer players because essentially we were separated into pods based on our experience, and I luckily triumphed in the experienced player league, but I was defeated by the first placer in the semifinals. He was playing droids. Played a really good game. Used terrain very effectively, and but yeah, I ended up. So I lost that game, and then me and the other guy who lost to the semis decided, hey, let's play let's play for third place, and we played a game, and I played Empire. I played Vader, Gunline, and kind of just wiped out the rebels. I just played that list well, which was Death Troopers, Stormtroopers, some Scout Troopers, Vader, and just kind of shot him to pieces. And then Vader was able to jump in the lines and just lightsaber everyone. So yeah, I got third place there. Pretty happy, pretty fun. Can't wait for. I definitely gonna play the next one.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And I think I played a couple more games on the weekend of Legion. I played a lot of Legion last week, so I just really like the game right now. But yeah, that's my week.
Very nice. Well, I had my week off, so the goal was to paint 21 models. I painted 19 models, so I fell a little short there, which is okay. The thing is, I got the models done.
Yes, that's what matters.
But I fell short a little bit of my goal. Wednesday, I did a Warhammer. We just did we did 2,000 points. It was 4 players. Each player took 1,000 points. We did Crons versus Sisters and Imperial Guard. And I must say, that game, that first round, that was a brutal first round. Because Lehman Russes are just monsters. Just monsters at what they could do.
I can imagine.
Yeah, we were losing. I think we lost like 3 units turn 1. So it was pretty brutal. But as our turn 1 went on, and then our turn 2, I was on the Kron side here. We managed to turn the game around. We were taking the objectives away from them. We were slowly taking out all the infantry so they couldn't capture any objectives, and we had to call it after turn 3, but it was looking like a Kron victory at that point. Pretty much having to just ignore the tanks, or since I was basically a Silver Tide, surrounding as many tanks as possible with my Necron warriors so they can't run anywhere. But yeah, it was a fun game. And then surprisingly, I got a Star Wars Legion game in.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. I got to fight against some droids.
Ooh.
Yeah, led by Grievous. So, finally didn't have to fight Darth Maul. No offense, John.
Yes, no. It's good to have variety, not fighting the double-bladed lightsaber dude.
Yeah, it was a completely different list compared to yours. He ran a lot more the normal battle droids. I don't know what they're called.
The
Roger guys.
Oh yeah, was he just running the regular battle droids?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's running that. He ran that spider bot thing from episode 3,
Yeah, familiar with that.
He was running one of those. He ran the Royal Guard and Grievous. And of course, I ran my classic 2 snow troopers with flamers, a unit of stormtroopers. It was like, we only did 500 points. Boba Fett and General Veers.
Mm-hmm.
and then a strike team,
Okay.
which was pretty much all I ran. And Boba Fett, obviously being the MVP of that game, he by himself took out 2 uh, normal battle droid units and then contested 1 objective, living with only 1 wound left. So I salute my Boba Fett. The best 175 points I could ever spend on a model. That's how good he is.
I think he's cheaper than that.
I don't really remember how many points he is.
Oh, he's like 120 base. Like he's stupid cheap for what he does, which is awesome. I mean, Boba Fett won Worlds, right? So
Yeah, man. I
he's
mean,
great. I really like Boba Fett.
yeah, the mission was 3 or not 3 objectives in the middle. It was an objective on a terrain piece and holding that terrain piece with the most unit leaders.
Uh
I don't know if you're familiar with that one.
I'm familiar with that. Yep.
Yeah, of course you are. So it was that one. Basically, I had 1 unit of snowtroopers to the side doing absolutely nothing but holding 1 piece of terrain, and then I had a unit of snowtroopers in combat with the Royal Guard, where he had to wipe me out in order to retreat back to the terrain piece to win the game.
Okay.
And then he had a Grievous next to Veers, not in combat with Veers, but he ran him all the way back to the middle objective because it had to be one terrain piece in the middle with the objective marker on there. So he ran him back all the way to the objective marker. I had 1 snowtrooper left against 2 Royal Guard. I was lucky enough to kill 2. I think it's a squad of 4 Royal Guard. I was lucky enough to kill 2 of them in close combat. And he failed to kill that 1 snowtrooper, which then led me to run my Veers up the middle of the board and contest the middle objective.
There we go.
And thus, my snowtroopers to the side just held that 1 objective, and that's how I won the game.
There we go.
It was brutal. I didn't think I was gonna pull that off, but it all comes down to that last moment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I played a couple games last week and a few weeks with Legion, and yeah, like it was actually that game where I lost the semis. It was really last turn moves that decided the game. It wasn't like, oh, like, I won turn 3 and we're just kind of playing the after. No, like we went to turn 6 and it went to like the last couple of activations to determine the victor, and it was super fun. It was fluffy too because like we were playing intercepted transmissions, so the lore is like you gotta download the data and upload it to your spaceship or whatever. Mm-hmm. And yeah, Vader survived, and the last turn he like killed a full unit of Magna, or he killed 3 Magna Guard in 1 attack. And I lost the mission. I can imagine Vader just like looking at the sky, turning his lightsaber off, and it's like very like Rogue One like, and it's like, oh, it's so cool. But yeah, it was super cool, super fun, and that's Legion does that a lot, where it's just up to those final activations that determine the victor.
Yeah, it reminds me of old 40K.
Yep.
But yeah, that is that. I think we call it there. I'd like to thank everyone who made it to the end of this show, and you know what? We'll see you next time.
Later, everyone.